Welcome to another edition of In the Dugout with myself and my co-host Craig Dennett. Today we have got a very exciting guest on for you. We've got Jordan Young. How are you doing today, Jordan?
I'm magic, mate. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
That's good. It's a pleasure. So, Jordan, you're best known for a few roles. You've got Alex Murdoch in River City, PC Jack Shagger McLaren, and Scott Squad, which is a fantastic show, by the way. We know you do lots of fundraising. I definitely touch on that, some of your experiences with. I know you've auctioned shirts, you've done marathons, and you were doing skydiving. Was that last year?
That was that November? I think it was early November last year. Yeah. And I mean, we could take up a couple of hours talking about that of just fear. It's just a podcast on fear, absolute adrenaline and fear and wetting yourself.
And also, you host a lot of Rangers official events and stuff like that, a few charity dues, and you were right at the City Chambers last night. So
I was.
We'll maybe pick your brains about the City Chambers. How was that, getting to be in and amongst some legends?
It was amazing. It was definitely one of those events where you've got imposter syndrome. You know, you're standing there going, there is no way on God's earth I should be here, but I am, so I'm going to enjoy it. But it was Andy Cameron gave a speech and he sung a wee song at the end, and it was just beautiful. It was just talking about his entire life of being a Rangers fan. It was quite formal with the Glasgow City Council, and then Stuart Robertson gave his kind of riposte to it. So it was all quite formal, but lovely. But then Andy Cameron really pulled at the heartstrings, and was mentioning folk we've lost recently, as in Walter and Andy and Jimmy Bell. So it was lovely. It was a fantastic night. It's great.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I've seen a few people on Twitter commenting on it, and it looked like a really good night for the club, and you were looking very dapper with your two partners in crime.
Yes, aye. Although I think me and Purdon's suit is probably, he dined times that by 10. It wouldn't have cost as much as Grado's. Ask him about that on Twitter. Honestly, I've had cars that have cost less than his suit. So.
Oh my God. Maybe get a Castore hoodie one day, That's it, exactly. So, and so tell us about, I'd like to talk about maybe your acting for a wee bit, and where that all started, and how did you get into it all?
I always say this when folk ask this question. I don't think I was one of these precocious sort of show-offy kids. I think I was maybe a wee bit shy. I say it to my mum. She's like, what? I don't think. I mean, I wasn't like one of these kind of never spoke to anybody, but I wasn't sort of really outgoing and dead confident. But I did drama. I started drama like maybe first year at high school, so 11-year-old, and really, really enjoyed it and like loved it. And that kind of just for first, second, third year. And I lost my dad when I was 14, and that for that point on, I just threw myself into drama. That was a kind of cathartic therapy thing. You don't know that at the time, but when you're a kid, when looking back now, you go, that's exactly what I was doing. I was just throwing myself into something. Like at that time, you're a young teenager, and I wasn't interested in anything other than football, girls, and drama. And that was it. That was honestly my life. Maths, English, all that, which is a huge regret, obviously. Now that I'm a dad myself and I'm older, and I go, there's loads of things I don't know about the world because my education really suffered because my lack of application. But I threw myself into drama, and it was my drama teacher at the time. She, we were getting to, I think we were about 16. You're getting your careers meetings, and I didn't have a clue what I was going to do. I really didn't have a clue. And she just said to me one day, she went, you're going to drama school. And I was like, what? She went, you're going to drama school. And none of my family had ever went to uni. And it was all, and a job as an actor, it's quite unusual for, like, all my mates are, I say normal people, but normal jobs. They're still like, I don't get what you do. I don't understand how your day-to-day, it works. It's still kind of, you wear tights for a living and jump about on a stage. Is that what you do? Like, shut up. And that's my best mates who, I've known for 25 years. So then I went to drama college, and I did a year at Dundee, a sort of HNC, and I went to Queen Margaret in Edinburgh and got my degree. And I graduated 21 years ago, so I've been an actor 21 years, which is half my life, which is mental.
Yeah, man. No, you've made a really good career out of it as well. But something I particularly want to talk to you about is Scott Squad. How is it working on that? How the hell do you keep a straight face in most of these things? Because it's so funny.
Right. Well, firstly, thank you. That's brilliant. Cheers. But I can say this honestly. It is an absolute joy.
Yeah.
See, going to your work, like Sally, who plays Sarah Fletcher,
Yeah.
she's one of my best pals in real life. So we get on really well. We know each other really well. And because it's massively improvised, the vast majority is improvised, you're just talking nonsense. And you kind of, you've got A to B to get to, and maybe the director or one of the script editors will say that line or say that, but you're just talking nonsense. And it's the real talent is the editors making you funny, because a scene could be 20 minutes long and what goes in the telly could be like 8 seconds, and it's because they've trolled through hours of footage. You're going, if I make that, and I'll piece it together. But Noddy, the director, he's directed it for day one. I've worked with Noddy for 15, 16 years, and he creates a brilliant atmosphere. It's like going to work with your pals. There's no pressure. Like there's other filming jobs you do, but most other sort of shoots it's quite high pressure. It's always up against time. There's not enough money. It's quite serious. There's a lot at stake. Whereas there's a really, really chilled atmosphere, and that's to do with Noddy, who runs the show basically. I love it.
It's one of those shows, I guess, a bit like Still Game, where it's like immediately quotable, and so many people just remember lines from it left, right, and centre. Is it?
Yeah.
Do you get stuff like that shouted? Do you get stuff shouted at you all the time when you're walking down the street and all that sort of stuff?
It used to be you get a lot of bam or no bam chat, but then what's kind of the dominant strain of the shouting now is Shagger, and that's. You get that a lot. You get that for the real Polis. You get that all the time. Wow. Which it's honestly, like it's sometimes you're like, well, you're on duty and you're just going, Shagger, that's cool, respect to you, mate. But I like because I've got 2 young daughters, and when folk are shouting that, and you're like, I don't know what they're not shouting at me, darling. No, I have no idea what they're talking about. But yeah, it's mainly Shagger. Aye.
Yeah, I bet you're gutted at that one, eh?
I know, actually. Always look at the missus and go, oh, lucky lady, isn't you?
That's it. And you touched on it earlier on. You do a lot of charity work. You talked to us about some of that sort of stuff in terms of the marathons and especially the Skydive Man, because that is my greatest fear would be jumping out of a plane.
Well, and it was my greatest fear. The Beatson approached me. I did stuff in lockdown for them online, like a Zoom, and Charlene at the Beatson just sent me an email one day and said, look, we're doing it. It's the Ballbusters, and we're looking to, I think it was 50 grand. 50 grand, and I think they were getting 20 people and try to get 50 grand. And would you do it, jump out of a plane? And my automatic reaction when I read it was like, the soles of my feet were sore. I felt like, whoa, nah. And then I came away and I was like, I need to think about it. So I said, can I have the weekend to think about it? Because my automatic reaction was like, there's no way in God's earth I can do it, because I'm no good with heights at all. And really, if I go up a ladder, I get a bit oofed. And I was like, nah. And then I thought, do you know what? Part of my job, having, a tiny bit of profile, if you can maybe put it to good use, and jumping out of a plane, is utterly petrifying for me. But then you're thinking, for cancer, that's kind of real fear. That's real, there's folk that are either losing their lives, losing their loved ones, or going through the most traumatic thing. And cancer is so, I don't think there's a human alive that hasn't been affected by a loved one or themselves going through it. And maybe I'll just do it. So I resigned myself to doing it, but oh my God, it was terrifying. Yeah. Apart from the actual day, which is bizarre. It was really bizarre. Like, it was cancelled 5 times because of the weather. And on the day that I eventually did it, they phoned me up, because I live through in the West Coast, and it was through in Fife. And they phoned me up and went, can you be through here in an hour? And I was like, yes. So I never had really much time to think about it, blah, 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 blah. And going up in the plane, I became the most serene, calm, it was weird. It was really weird because I'm quite a highly strung person, you may have noticed, and I'm quite like I'm nervy and all that. But I was really just dead calm, and my kids and my mum and everyone were there to watch. And as the plane took off, I remember looking down at my girls and like, they've had a good life. They'll be all right, honestly. And I was dead. I think maybe that's what I'll be like when I die, just dead calm about it. Maybe, but it was great. It was great after I did it. It was a bucket list thing. You go, right, that's that done. Probably not do it again.
Fair play to you, man. It's something I couldn't do, and you've raised a lot of money for a great cause. So hats off to you, my man.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
No, we'll crack into it.
Aye.
Obviously, we've got our standard 8 questions that we ask everybody. It's from here on in. It's all about the Rangers, Jordan. Which will please you. So
excellent.
Yeah, the first question is it's a simple one. What is it that got you into Rangers, and how did that all start?
I've probably got a slightly different route. Well, a much different route than most folk. Not a single person in my family was into football. Not even that they weren't into Rangers. Nobody. My dad wasn't into football at all. Yeah. My brother, not at all. My granddads, my uncles. I'm making it all male. No women. My mum, aunties, grands. There was never any talk of football at all. And when I was, younger, because I never had any influences, and there was all of my mates who had football kits and they were playing. I'm talking sort of 6, 7 year old, and I was like, I quite like football, and I'm into it. Yeah. And then I remember my treat, and it was a cup final. I can never remember the year, but I'm sure if we Google it, I'd find it. It was a Celtic Rangers cup final. Mm-hmm. And my treat was to get my mum and dad's portable telly from their bedroom, and I got it in my bedroom. Oh. And we won. And for that second on, I became obsessed with Rangers. Oh. Absolutely obsessed with it. And it started at birthdays and Christmas, getting the kits, and my mum always talks about it. She was like, you just were absolutely obsessed with it, and there was nobody there to bounce off. There's nobody to talk about. Like I'd be trying to watch games in Scott Sport or whatever it would be, and like nobody was interested. I'm like, we're playing Aberdeen now. It's a big game, I think, in the Skull Cup. Skull Cup's a biggie, and it's kind of. It's never went away. It's just, as you get older and more experiences, and it's just, I suppose obsession's a bad thing, but I know I absolutely love it. Love everything about it. Got the games, everything.
Yeah. Do you think if we'd lost that cup final, you'd have been a Celtic fan?
Do you know that's went through my head a lot? No, I'm just going to say no. I think there was probably mates of mine at school, being a Fifer, any village, town, city in Scotland has got a large share of Rangers and Celtic fans. You go to the Highlands and Islands in a wee town, and it's always half and half. And I think a lot of my mates were Rangers fans as well, so I was probably always going that side anyway. Yeah. But let's just not even think about that. Aye. That's a horrible thought.
Are you bringing that up, Craig? That's terrible.
Awful.
I brought that up pre-podcast as well. So. But no, that's good. So I guess our second question touches on kind of your first game and your memories of the first game that you ever went to. Obviously, you've said that you didn't really have that sort of family influence on you. Yeah. A lot of people, it's either dads, uncles, granddads that kind of take them to games and that kind of thing. But you obviously didn't have that family influence. So what was your first game? How old were you?
I was about 17, because again, living through there, and the thought of travelling through to Glasgow on your own it was like going to Timbuktu. It was it was the big city, the other side of the country, and I used to have dreams about going to Ibrox because it was so unachievable in my head. It was so like this paradise thing. Terrible use of paradise. Scrub that. But it was like this kind of unachievable goal, and I genuinely did. I used to dream about going to Ibrox because you'd seen it on the telly, and I did all the posters on my wall, and you could visualize it, but I never thought it'd happen. And I think it was Hearts. It was a 1-1 draw. And I went through my cell, which I was terrified, obviously. And that was it. So late 90s, It'd be about 97, 98 time. And then because I just kind of sporadically, it wasn't like I was going all the time after that. It was, well, it was sort of, it was the early 2000s I started going more regular, because then I moved to Edinburgh and I was a student then. I was a bit of a man. I was an adult, a full adult. I was like, I can do this. You know, then a couple of boys I went to uni with, they were Rangers fans, and I'd sort of roped them in going, let's go through to Glasgow for the day. So yeah, it was sort of the early noughties that I started going regularly. Aye.
Do you remember where you sat that day? Do you remember who was in the team? Do you remember what you did on the way or anything? Or?
Do you know, not, I remember like being nervous about going, about the travel. I know that sounds ridiculous now, but as a kid, you know, a country bumpkin as well, the travel through being really, that was a big deal and quite scary. And that kind of, my mum went, look after yourself, don't talk to anybody, you'll get stabbed, don't do any of that. Like, oh no, like, just Glasgow, mum, there's no got knife crime in Glasgow. I'm sure in this I'm sure it was a main stand, but I don't remember much about it at all. But I'm quite bad at remembering the team or the players. You know, I remember moments and goals and stuff, or seasons. But like when I'm specifics, I've got mates that are statos and they're like, oh, cheers. What was that game? Brilliant, cheers.
So I was going to say that might serve you well for the questions later in the podcast when we ask you who your favourite player is and what your favourite goal was.
I've got a few that it's hard to whittle down, but yeah, I'll try.
No, that's it. It's the next question we've got, Jordan, is we know you get to as many games as you can and you attend Ibrox regularly, but what's your sort of typical match day routine? Do you go for a pint before the game? Do you go for a walk around the stadium, or what do you normally do when you're in Ibrox?
I used to, pre-having kids, I'd always like a drink before a game, and that was a lot if I was travelling from when I lived in Edinburgh. I was getting the train through and I'd be with a mate, so you know, you'd leave early, make sure you got there, and then you go for Paisley Road West, you go for a couple of drinks. That was always a routine. Then when I moved to Glasgow, I lived in the south side, so I was about 2 miles for the stadium, 3 miles, something like that. And I just went then, I would often go to the games on my own, so I'd just walk, and then I wouldn't really bevy. But now I'm often driving. I absolutely hate being late. I've got a real thing about, I like to be in before the teams are announced. And I've got so many mates over the years who I've went with, you know, you go with different folk, and some of them are like, they don't really care, like if they're 5 minutes late, and that affects my OCD. I'm like, no, I need to see the start of the game. Yeah. But my mate who I go with, Gav Wright, smashing guy, he's kind of who I go with all the time now, and he's like me, we've got to get in there, got to be there plenty of time. So that's usually we Gav, one of us drives, take it and turn to drive. So
to be fair, we're the exact same. We're in the ground 45 minutes before kickoff, roughly. We're sitting watching, waiting for Alan McGregor to come out to do his warm up and all that sort of stuff. We're in that early.
No, I'm not that bad.
But just so Kyle can assess how bad we're going to be at shooting that day from the striker drills when we miss the target for 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? You go, he's not got it. He's not ready. He's not sharp. He doesn't look confident. You're all reading into it.
Not once though has what has been done in the warm up ever reflected what's happened in Ibrox. So I don't know why I do it. Like, I'm obsessed with seeing it, but there we go. It's good to hear somebody else is the same as me. So
yeah,
it's not too bad. But the big question, this is one of my favourite questions on this podcast, is when you're leaving the stadium, Jordan, are you a tapper or are you not a tapper? Do you go and do you touch it? Oh
yeah, I tapper. And I don't know what that comes from. I think it, you know, it originally comes from going, you know, I'm part of this. This is part of my tribe. You know, this is mine as well. But also, you see other people doing it. But now, if I didn't do it, it'd be like, that was a choice not to do it. Why are you not doing it? That's an odd thing. You know, so yeah, definitely a tapper. Yeah.
Don't want Ibrox to think you're annoyed. It's annoyed at you.
I know. That's good. You know, tapping me for. Just because we got scudded.
To be fair, I think we're now 9 episodes into this, and I think all but one person has said that they tap the sort of above the door as they leave. But
Yeah.
I don't think we've had one person have the same answer as another person, which is
Right.
so no one has any idea why they do it. Just everyone
Yeah,
does.
I think you probably you see people doing it and you think, oh, that's it. It's again, it's I think it's a belonging thing, isn't it? It's when that's what we're doing. I have no idea if other teams do that. I'm sure they maybe do it, but it's yeah, I'm a tap up. Guilty.
Right, so into some of your sort of favourite moments and stuff like that, Jordan. Now, so when we started this sort of routine of these questions, we thought everyone will have a favourite goal. Show everyone's got a favourite goal. Turns out no one can narrow it down to just one. So we give everyone a sort of top three, and then we kind of rank them after that. So in terms of just from your time watching Rangers, what are your sort of top three favourite goals?
The top three. You don't want to be too obvious and mainstream with this, but then there's a reason why Mendes at Parkhead, just to hit a ball so sweetly at the home of your biggest rivals, and that was his debut as well, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
It just that was such a sweet strike. I love it. Lovenkrands against Villarreal in the last 16.
Yep.
I was right behind the goals there, and kind of my eye line. I was just above the crossbar, and it's such a sweet strike. It's such a beautiful strike, but it's also the magnitude here in the last 16, the Champions League here. Purzo's handballed it inexplicably early, like, mate, this was hard enough.
Yeah.
You know, we could have done without you doing that, to be honest. You know, give a wee head start. That was such a good strike. One that probably it was Barry Mackay against Celtic at the semi-final, and I think that absolutely stunning strike. Anything that goes in off the bar or the post always makes it look better. It's really far out. It's obviously against Celtic, but it's to do with where we'd been at, and you know that was the start of a stuttering start, a stalled start of trying to get back. You know, we were kind of past the Sandazas and Kravaris, and we were building a bit of a stronger squad. We weren't there yet, but we were making shakes, and I think it's what that goal symbolised. But also, it was such a peachy strike. Yeah, that one.
So is it safe to say you're more of a fan of the Thunder Bastard than you are of a well-worked team goal?
Yes. I'm one of these boys that you feel like just past the half year going, hit it. All that intricate play, like, stop that, just hit it.
No, he was the only man shouting for Roof to shoot before he did it against Belgium.
But even before he shot, I was like, it was 10 yards too far forward. I was like, you should have hit that 10 yards ago.
Aye. I know, man. It's so funny. But like the next question we've always got is it's a simple one as well. It's your top three favourite players that you've ever seen at Ibrox, and we always get similar answers. So I'd always like three, and then a wee sort of cult hero, a wee Salim Kerkar in there, if you will.
Yeah.
To be fair, and to give you a wee bit of thinking time on this one, in the last podcast we had Reese on. So Reese was born in 2000, so Reese is quite young, and really from the age of 12 he had third division onwards, so they didn't really have that much to go for. But I think he went for Sonny Aluko as his favourite player. Was that right?
He was a good player. He was a good player.
It was quite underrated, but for the three favourite players, a bit. I
know it's a bit of a stretch, but then it's all about generations, isn't it? I grew up through the 9 in a row era, so I'm kind of spoilt for choice. My room was covered with McCoist, Gorham, and Loudrop.
Yeah.
I played in goals when I was wee, as in younger, no wee, because I'm not the biggest yet. And I loved being a keeper. I wasn't great. I wasn't any great shakes, but I loved being a keeper. I was quite obsessed with goalkeeping and stuff, and I had the Gorham keeper, the splodges one, the yellow and red, and that. I got that at Christmas. So I loved being in goals. So I had a real thing with keepers in Gorham and Kloss and that, and even McGregor now. But Coisty, I know it's dead obvious, but it was so iconic and so. He just seemed to have everything, so charismatic and everything. And I've been lucky enough to I've met him a couple of times, and he's everything that you want him to be and more. A gent of a man, but genuinely funny. And what a goal scorer! It's unreal when you look at some of his goals as well. I grew up when in the 80s, and it was always, if you were playing football and they were calling you a poacher, it was always, you're just being McCoist, as if that's all he did.
Yeah.
And when you look at some of his goals, you're like, what a finisher he was. He was brilliant.
Yeah. I think as well, when you hear him in commentary for the European games and things like that, he's talking about where the striker should move and why he should take half a step that way or half a step back or whatever. The amount of thought that actually goes into him being in the right place at the right time, you can just tell was insane. And it's why so few people can do it, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. They're all obviously of the same era, but these were the guys that were all over my walls, posters and that. I loved Dado Purzo. Loved Purzo. I wish we'd got him a couple of years earlier. Great player, gangly and a weird running style, and you always thought, he's losing the ball here. And he always, when he went off one of these galloping runs, and you're like, he's no stopping, he's still got the ball. It's amazing. I loved him. He was a bit of a cult hero. Yeah. Again, Jelovic as well, with Croatian theme. Yeah. If only we could get another Croatian striker. Try to think of any more obscure ones. And all my mates in the Rangers WhatsApp chat, I'm renowned for being the curse of a player. I'm always the curse, but you get the guy that's kind of unknown for 600 grand. I'm like, honestly, boys, Ballon d'Or in 3 years, we're going to sell him for 60 million quid. And then he plays 3 games, they hear from him, and then he's punted. That's me. I'm the curse. So, as I've said to my mates, like, this season, I think all our signings are dross. I think we're going to be terrible. Yeah. Nobody's going to do anything good. See what I did there?
Yeah. I was going to say, do you want to use this platform as your official apology to Jack Simpson for
Cedric Eaton? Name but a few. I always buy into these players. Always. I was like, he's a real deal. And my mate's like, he's no. And then I get dead defensive and I'm going, leave him alone. He's really good. He's just not getting any game time. So maybe he's not doing it in training. I don't know.
I'm a bit worried now because I've been a bit like that with Tillman already this season. Literally seen 5 minutes of the guy and already think he's going to be the Players' Player of the Year in the Scottish Football Writer Association.
Absolutely. I'm always a sucker for. He's played for Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
He's going to be a god, isn't he? No thinking that, he's young and Bayern Munich have let him go. But I'm like, no, he's a god. He's absolutely going to dominate. But that's the curse. Tillman's got to be terrible now. I've said that. I've put that out.
Fingers crossed not.
I know.
Right, on to the next one. You also went to your first game at 17, as you said. So kind of top 3 favourite games. We've actually had quite a few people who've put a few games from the European run last season into this. There's not many, I think, from the seasons before that have got into it, but kind of your favourite games that you've seen over the years?
I think my favourite game I've ever been to was the Leipzig game. The atmosphere, I've never experienced anything like that. That was obviously because of what it meant and where we were going. We knew what that, but the atmosphere after the full-time whistle, but playing a team who are a really, really good team, really, really good in the ball and all that. And what we did in Europe previously in Europe would maybe be a bit sort of sticky and, defensive and scrape it. But I thought we were dominating teams and playing brilliant football, and that, to see that, and it was just brilliant. I think that, obviously it's the most recent in my mind as well, but Celtic game, Ibrox, where it was the season of administration, but it was before the shit hit the fan. It was 4-2. It was McCoist's first one, and Naismith scored an absolute belter on the top corner.
Yeah.
And then McGregor had a howler against their wee left back. He had a kind of speculative one, and was it Hooper, I think, scored. So they went 2-1 up, and then we came out and just played them off the park. It was brilliant, 4-2. It was a great game.
Is that the one Lee Wallace scored the fourth goal? Was that game, or was that later on that season?
I think Lee Wallace scored when was that the one when Celtic could have won the league that day?
That might have been, right.
Is it? And Aluko scored?
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I think it was Jelavic, Naismith. Jelavic scored the header, Naismith scored. Lafferty scored.
Oh.
Lafferty, he had about three hits in. It was off shins and everything. And it's brilliant. You watch it, he's like, I'm not getting up. This is going in the net. I don't care what you do. This is going in the net. I can't mind who scored it. I can't mind.
Right.
But aye. Or there was I think it was Watersmith's first full season back. It was the 2008 Manchester season. Their first Old Firm. I was working in New York at the time, and I got up in the middle of the night, yellow cab to the Rangers bar, and it was one we won 3-0. Ferguson, Novo. Again, I'm always good with 2 goals. It's the third I'm always struggling. But we were just absolutely blew them away. So dominant. I mean, I wasn't at the game, but watching it in New York with Rangers fans was pretty special.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think
Novo. That was it. Novo penalty.
I think the Leipzig game is one that will be in most people's lists, especially if they were in the ground that night. I mean, the moment that John Lundstrom shot hit the back of the net was just unreal. It's
that unbelievable thing. Like I kind of always got a wee delay of going, I can't believe this has actually happened. I'm a bit of a pessimist. I'm always like, must be offside or something. There must be something. It was, but the atmosphere was electric. It was amazing.
I know. To be fair, I still watch the highlights once a day. I've never watched Seville back. I watch the highlights of that once a day, and then I'm sure Belinda Carlisle will be in top of my Spotify most played at the end of this year. So,
do you imagine being Lundstrom and hearing that entire stadium singing that about you? How could you not play well with that? It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was something else that game as well. Totally agree. It'll be a long time, I think, before we see something like that.
Yeah. Jordan, did you make it to Seville, or did you?
I did. Yeah, I was there. I did a day trip with my mate Gav, and I was training for a marathon, so I was sober. And my mate and Gav was working the following day, and we kind of said, "Look, let's no drink," which was a pretty tough decision to make. But I'd sort of squared up my head that if we win, I'll have a wee drink after. I wouldn't get, I'd kind of 8 weeks off the drink. I was being really sort of strict, and just coincided with my team going to a European final, which was difficult. So we spent all day just wandering around Seville in the fan zones. Absolutely brilliant. Again, said to him, let's get to the stadium an hour and a half early. Let's just get there and indulge in it. So, we're in a different city, and let's find our bearings and all that. And we got to the signpost for the street we were to go down for a section of the stadium, and the police were blowing off, and they wouldn't tell you why. And there's more and more bears just kind of waiting. It's probably about 1,000 of us just waiting for ages, and it's getting closer and closer to kick off. And I'm raging because the whole point of us coming up early was to get in the stadium and avoid this. I just wanted to be in there and relax and see the whole beginning of the game and everything. And so we're waiting for ages, and it was probably about 25 minutes before kickoff, and there was loads of singing and dancing, kicked off footwear in a good mood and all that. So I took my phone out, took a video, put it back in my pocket, and about a couple of minutes later, the police moved and let us through. And I went to get my phone because my ticket was on my phone, and it was gone. I was like, no. And Gav's like, what is it? But you've got 1,000 folk behind you, all walking towards, everyone's singing and dancing and that. So, I'm screaming, I've lost my phone. Nobody quite rightly cares. No, they're not interested. So I'm trying to look at people's feet, but there's 2,000 legs there. Yeah. And some, you know, in fairness, there was a few guys were stopping going, what is it? Yeah, his phone, and they're trying to help. They're trying to shout to the crowd, the boy's lost his phone, but folk are steaming, folk are in party mood. And then we did find my phone, and it was, and we phoned it, and it was off. My phone was definitely on because I'd taken a video cut and it's phone. I was like, oh man, it's been half-inched. Yeah. And you know, I still was like, oh, I've probably dropped it and it's just broken. I've dropped it. And so the crowd disperses. So then it's me and Gav standing in what becomes an empty street because they've all went into the game. And I'm really close to tears at this point because, and Gav was like, he went, mate, we'll go to a boozer, we'll watch it in a boozer. And I was like, no, I said, I can't, you're going to the game, you've paid the money, you're going in. He was like, I'm not leaving you, we'll watch it in a boozer. And honestly, even now, I'm like, it was horrendous. Oh. And so I'm just looking about, because you're lost, you're like, my ticket's on my phone, that's all I've got. I've got nothing else, ticket on the phone. And he was like, let's go and speak to the steward. So I'm going up, I'm all defeated, like, oh, and that's it. And the steward went, if you've got your passport on you and your ticket's not been validated, go to the UEFA building, which it was like 2 blocks away, and they'll print you a paper ticket. So at this point, we're probably maybe 15 minutes before kickoff. Oh. So me and him are like bombing it to this place. There's a big long queue of Rangers fans who've either had their phones lost, stolen, broken, all that, and everybody's panicking because of the time. Yeah. And you know, the UEFA official, he's been quite officious, as he's, you know, as is his want. That's his job. He's got to, you know, he's making sure nobody's at it and that. Yeah. So let's just say he wasn't the quickest. Yeah. You know, and he's got security there. It's very much like there's a process, and then folk are getting ratty. Then folk are like, "You're trying to jump the queue." And you're like, "We're not trying to jump the queue. We're just." So it was getting a wee bit tense. Yeah. Eventually got in, got my ticket, and I missed the first 15 minutes of the game. And you know that the stadium's full. You're trying to find your seat and went up the wrong bit and all that. Yeah. And then I spend the whole first half head spinning about losing my phone and what that means, and raging that I've missed the whole pomp and ceremony at the beginning. You know, don't know anything about the game. Gav, as I'm in getting my ticket for UEFA, he's like, I think Lundstrom's getting sent off, and this was about 3 minutes in. Oh. He's like, there's a VAR check, and Lundstrom, it looks like he's off. And I'm like, nah, no way. And I think, looking back, I think he had a challenge, and the boy was injured.
Yeah. He had the boy in his head, the head with studs, I think, didn't he?
But I don't think I'm obviously got to say this, but I don't think it was a dirty challenge. I think it was just an accident, you know, a knock-yes, and it was an accident. But our belief at that point was Lundstrom's off, and we're about 3 minutes in, and you know, lost my phone. We're down to 10 men, you know, and there's 87 minutes to play against a German opposition. It's no great, but it's stressful.
I can't imagine the panic that must have gone through your head at that point. I mean, I think I've told this already in the podcast, but just as the teams were coming out, a wee boy behind me spewed on my seat after I'd paid £1,000 for it. So
I mean, I'm laughing, shouldn't be laughing, but I've got my tails of woe as well, you know.
Yeah. Oh, Jordan, laugh all you want, because it was funny, because that's exactly what I was doing, stood right next to
you. So bad. Much rather that than having lost my phone. I know whatever it was. So.
Murder. But you know, it's still magic day, brilliant day, still there. And when Aribo scored, we had, what was it, 12, 13 minutes of belief, real belief. And I think at that point, because I think naturally quite pessimistic about the games, I think it's a self-preservation. I always think that we can't do it, because I think if I commit to saying we are going to win, then I'm tempting fate. You know, it's kind of, if I say it out loud, it'll not happen because I've got that power. And then when Aribo scored, I was like, I think we're going to actually do this. I really do. And then we didn't.
I turned to Quip after we scored and all the celebration, and Kyle had been getting up these German fans in front of us and all that sort of stuff. And then I turned to Kyle, I said, we just need to get through 10 minutes. We get through 10 minutes after the goal, be fine. And then at 12 minutes hit and they scored, and I'm like, oh, well, I didn't quite work, did it? It's everyone's got the same kind of logic. We just need to get through. But,
such a rubbishy goal to give away as well, you know, but we'll not go over that, but it's avoidable.
But I think that moment that Aribo hit the back of the net with that goal was just unreal. Like hard to describe.
I spent about £7,000 on water, and we got 4 bottles. There's another story. I'm sure we all know the stories, but I still a full bottle, and when he scored, every drop went over everybody. You know, I regret that now. You know, try to suck it with folks' hair and everything.
Aye, that's what the wee boy was trying to do behind Craig, but we won't. I know, as you said, everything that day, bar the result, was an amazing experience for being involved in. Although it was a bit of a traumatic start to you, but it's a tale for the Grandwains, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
But the next question we've got, and I've got a sneaky suspicion I might know what you're going to say on this one, but it's your favourite strip, or your favourite piece of memorabilia. I bet you've got some good pieces of memorabilia kicking about your gaff, Jordan.
Memorabilia. I've got a lot of Rangers ties of the sort of early noughties period, and I've got most home strips for the last 20 years. 22 years maybe. Not every year, but most. And if I've not got the home strip of that year, I've got the away strip. So I've got a lot of tops. My favourite kit is Admiral McEwen's Lager Switch 1990, 1991.
1990, 92, I'm sure that's
aye, and I wore that to Seville because I wore it on the Leipzig game, and I was like, you've got to wear the same, you've got to, you know, that kind of that, why would you change it? And like my mate Gav, he went to Seville with really thick shaggy hair because he's like, I can't get my hair cut until this European run's over. And he's really like, I'm quite I've got loads of things like that, but him, he's off the scale. He'll do the exact same routine on match day. I'm sure he'll be delighted in putting that in a podcast.
Is there no goalkeeper tops in there? I thought after you were going to say that sort of red and yellow splotchy.
No, do you know, the ones when I was younger, they've all gone. Like, I only started collecting them when I was about 20. So all my sort of pre-20-year-old, they were all at my mum's and they're gone. You know, she's like, I chucked them to the charity years ago. Cheers, mum. They were worth a fortune. I've got 2 strips that have been for my 30th and my 40th, both signed by the full squad, which is pretty special.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we've reached the final question, actually, of the podcast, and it's one that I imagine you'll have one of the more exotic answers to than the people who've been on beforehand. So what we like to ask people at the end is just, where's the strangest place or the weirdest place that you've ever watched a Rangers game? So we had Michael Bergson from the owner of Bucks Bar on, and he'd watched a Rangers game in Cape Verde.
Yeah.
Quite cool.
Right.
But I imagine you've been in much more exotic places and much more exotic company.
I don't know. I don't. I think probably the coolest is the New York one in 2008. That was pretty. I'm trying to think.
So what was that just part of this? I know New York's got a Rangers supporters club. Was that just over there that you went and watched it with those guys? And is it?
Yeah, it was just Googled it, and I can't remember what it was called. Probably something blue, I'd imagine. But I just got a taxi, and my wife, she was my then girlfriend, was over visiting, and I was like, I'm getting up at 4 o'clock, and I'll be going to the Rangers bars the other side of Manhattan. She's like, no, you're not. No, I am. That was a great game. So one of the Pedro Mendes goal at Parkhead, I was working in Inverness then, and the guy I was working with said, look, my brother's a huge Rangers fan, and there's a Rangers club there, supporters club. We'll go to that. He's an Aberdeen fan, but he's like, he loves his fit boy. He said, I'll go with you, cool. And we go through this industrial estate. I mean, they're like, this doesn't look like there's anything here. This is like one of these lock-up units, and you think, going to kill me, he's going to stab me. And then we opened this door and it was just this sea of Rangers fans and great atmosphere. And that I remember watching the game in there, having a couple of pints because we were going back down the road that day. And that was probably no exotic, I wouldn't say Inverness. I wouldn't put Inverness and exotic in the same, but it's far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, Jordan, thank you very much for your time. It's really very much appreciated. That's been a great pod, and I'm glad you managed to get through all the questions as well.
Cheers, just thanks for having me, guys. Thanks a lot.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And Kyle, thanks very much again for your hosting.
Cheers. I do try.
That's all you can do. God loves a trier. Anyway,
absolutely.
Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. Please make sure you remember to subscribe to the TII YouTube channel. Remember to turn on those notifications as well, so that you get a wee email every time we upload a new pod. Please remember, we're always live every week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 p.m. for midweek bulletins, and then we've got our main podcast live at 8 p.m. on our YouTube channel as well on a Sunday. Until next time, goodbye.